And howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in part of the world. Mr. B here. This is Politicking with Mr. B. Want to say thank you very much to all you folks for coming in, having a look, viewing things, and all that stuff. I want to give a big shout out to our engineer, Blazeman. Thank you very much for getting this going. We're on the road here, and Mr. Blazeman, if you could run up the colors, my friend. We want to get this show on the road. Oh my goodness. Good to see you folks. Marciana, JJ, here we go. And ladies and gentlemen, join me in pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I thank the good Lord for it. And I thank our forefathers and the people who laid out all of their time, their sweat, their livelihoods, their blood, the sacrifices they made to give us this country that we live in now. That having been said, ladies and gentlemen, my goodness. I hope you can hear that. A 21-year-old private in Massachusetts Air National Guard gets secret clearances and takes the information that he gets from doing the job that he's supposed to be doing and does what? Does what? He goes to some, what is it, a conspiracy theorist gaming chat room thing and spreads the information around, compromising national security at the ripe old age of 21 years old. This isn't a sign of national security. This is the sign of a failed circus, ladies and gentlemen. Who was responsible for this outrage, for this nightmare? How many people can they possibly turn around and say, I'm not buying it. I am not buying this story. Not by a long shot, ladies and gentlemen. A 21-year-old kid who plays around with computer parts to fix computers was given high secret clearances. Allows him to go ahead and get a hold of documentation that nobody, and I mean nobody that I've ever known, would possibly have been able to get their hands on. 21 years old. What in all of the fiddler's farts is this coming to? What really happened? This couldn't possibly be a 21-year-old kid responsible for all of this. If it is, this country is truly sunk. This country is truly sunk. I'd love to know what you have to say about this. I'd love to know what your opinion is about what's going on with this. What do you think happened? How far does this go? Do you think this is covered up? Do you think that this kid is a scapegoat for what has really happened? I think so. I really think that they've done something like this just to cover up something else. There's something else that's going on. And hey, by the way, in the terms of national security, we had a discussion last night on Blaze's program, how we see it, about the issue of self-community policing or whatever else, a la China, or excuse me, the Chinese neighborhoods and Chinese communities and so forth. And you may remember I had mentioned that it was going to come out that there was more than one of these things going on here. Today it came out, by the way, there are at least six of these community Chinese community police departments, self-police departments. If this isn't a nationwide or a widespread protection rings scandal or scam, I don't know what is. And yet, of course, there could be Chinese secret police behind all this and so forth, but this all stinks very, very much like just a continuation of the Chinese culture. If you want to live under those circumstances, this country was built and maintained on the pretext of freedom. Freedom to be. You should not want. You should not be. You should be free from fear. And instead, these people are coming from a country where fear is the order of the day. And what's happening? They're falling under the thumb again of the same thing that they fled thousands of miles and left them behind. Did you hear about the young man shot knocking at a door, picking up his brother? I've heard a number of things about people being shot at doors and so forth. I've heard about two young ladies that went into the wrong parking lot. A couple of young cheerleaders, 17 and 18 years old, went into the wrong parking lot. And some fellow came outside and started blasting at them. Shot them both. One's still in the hospital, one has been kicked loose. I've heard about a young fellow who went knocking on the wrong door. He walked on the wrong door. The guy busted 232s into him. Yes, it is saddening. Yes, it is confounding how these things can be happening in our society today. But they are. And why? Because everybody is running freaking scared. Everybody is running absolutely scared. And why is everybody running scared? Because they know our police, our government cannot protect us. How many people there are here in the States? 300 and something million people. How many police officers? Forget about FBI. Forget about them. Forget about them. They're chasing ghosts. They're chasing phony Russian collusion stories, things like that. And then the police themselves, what do they got? They're combating. People turn around and say, defund the police. The maniacs running the asylum are letting criminals tell them, no, we don't want the police. Send out social workers. Social workers. Don't send people with guns. Send social workers. The people who come up with this concept, I hope the people that come up with concepts like this, 10,000 deer ticks infest their crotch. Morons, idiots, simpletons come up with ideas like this. And now look where we are. California? My God in heaven. People are fleeing California, not because of earthquakes, not because of global warming, whatever else, but because they've ruined the damn state. Oh, come in. And what are they doing with it? What are they doing with it? When they come out of California, they're going to come out of California, and they're going to try and settle wherever they settle, like California again. Walk into this, you morons. It didn't work out there. What makes you think it's going to work wherever it is that you flee California to? Leave the California back in California. It didn't work. Which, by the way, same thing with socialism. It doesn't work. Leave it behind. It's something we need to take and shove. Man, 1,000 camels up fast, Democrats crash. Very nice. Thank you very much, Crispy. Good to see you. Thank you, JJ, and also for your comments. Alyssa, good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. read about that. It's truly sad. Absolutely, it's truly sad. In the meantime, as a matter of fact, Blaze Man, by any chance, I've sent some videos. If by any chance you happen to have something in queue, I hope you've got it. Can we get video number 1 up to play, please? If it's there, if you've got it. If not, we can hold off a little while. I can move on to another subject, but I wanted to transition, if you will, into a new subject. While we're at it, while we're waiting for these things, the Mexican border is a mess, utter, complete, and absolutely unequivocal. It is an absolute mess. And no. They didn't inherit this from Donald Trump. They didn't inherit this from Donald Trump. Thousands a day are pouring over the border, walking right through the lines where a fence should be. I'll say this again, where a fence should be. And what do they do? They go, they sit down, and they wait for the bus to come to take them. And I have to say, we've got that video ready. Let's gonna bring that in here, and we're gonna show you folks a little something. This is gonna be video number 1. I have 3 of them to play.
Swimmer that competes and wins a NCAA championship as a man against other women, and we say we must do nothing. Where track championship after track championship are being won by biological men competing against women, and not just competing but winning, and they're bullying them, and they're antagonistic, and they're narcissistic, and they're cheaters, and they're all those things. And so some criticism I receive is, well, Charlie, aren't you a Christian? Don't you love that person? Of course we do. That person's made in the image of God. We should have compassion for that person. However, the question is then, what do you do with somebody that is suffering with a mental delusion? If somebody shows up at the airplane ticket counter and says, I have an imaginary friend, I demand 2 seats on a plane, you would say, well, I need to charge you for 2 seats. No, it's my truth. It's actually, I'm a dual personality. You say you're insane. If someone is anorexic and says, I need liposuction, you'd say, no, you're suffering under a mental delusion. If somebody says I'm offended every single time I see other people eat in public, do we stop eating in public? Do we now reaccommodate society for other people's mental struggles or issues? What we are living through is that we now have to change our customs, our code of beliefs, our behaviors for people that are personally struggling with something. That is evil, everybody.
Okay. That having been said, I myself, I don't have a problem when someone wants to do what they're doing to themselves, or also play dress up, whatever else. It's their business. Fine. I don't have to like it. I don't have to have it shoved down my throat and shoved in front of me and whatever. And I certainly, sure as hell, don't have to be forced to make accommodations for somebody else who's having their problem. Not going to happen. That's not what this country is about. It's not what it was founded on. And it is high time that the people in this country stood up and said, you know what? We're tired of this bullshit. You want to go ahead and play your games? You want to go play dress up? You want to have add a dick to me or a lop it off of me or whatever it is? That's your business, not my business. Go and do whatever you're going to do, live and be well, and go on about our business. I don't have a problem with people that they're going to do things to themselves, they're going to change things, whatever it is. It's not my business. You make it my business, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell you, guess what? I don't like it, and I'm not going to put up with the crap. And speaking of not putting up with crap, ladies and gentlemen, on a side note here, it's come to my attention that there have been some people who have made some comments and so forth about the programming and the people who inhibit the programming here at FFN. I've had a few things said to me that I just don't like. I'm not going to take and repeat it. I'm not going to name names. All I'm going to say is, ladies and gentlemen, these people are my co-workers, my whatever you want to say it. I stand with my people, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going to say anything against them. Not a word. Programming is programming, and people can say what they want on their shows, do what they want on their shows, and that being said, I just want the people that I want to know I stand with you, and that's all there is to it, and it's not going to change. Okay, we've had this about video number 1. We've had this. I'd like to know what you folks have to think. I'd love to know how you feel about this situation. I'd like to know what you have to say about these things that are going on. America's changing. Yes, it's true. There is nothing permanent except change. And people use the age-old, oh, well, times have changed. No, times have not changed. The clock still ticks just as it did before. We're still spinning around in circles and going around that big fireball in the sky the same rate. It's people's values that have changed. It's people's values that have changed. And we have to know whether or not how much of that we're going to tolerate. And if someone else's values have to become ours. I have to say that. And I'd love to know how much people have to say about that. Pardon me. Stelladoro. Wouldn't be my show if I weren't eating cookies and drinking coffee. I do, by the way, still have the Girl Scout cookies, and I would still urge you folks to get out, if you can, go out and find a place that's selling Girl Scout cookies. Buy some cookies, help them raise their money. Everybody's happy. You get great cookies, they get great money. Kids get to go to camp and have programs and this and that and things like that where they learn good, solid values. And it gets their families involved, friends involved. So not everybody walk around going on these machines anymore. No. Girl Scouts, good. Go out, buy their cookies. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have another situation that we need to address, or I'd like to address. I'm going to bring up a video in a minute, but before that, as I was saying before, I can't stress enough how much the changes that are there, and I never expected. I never expected. I never thought in my wildest dreams, back when I was in my 20s or 30s or whatever else, that I'd be seeing something like this. I have. And these changes that I'm seeing, some things are good. Yes, okay, fine. Others aren't. And I've spoken before on other shows about other changes going on with the government. Government overreach, usurpations, the reasons why we revolted against the crown and separated. And there are people that are out there in their own groups, and God bless them for it, that believe that we're seeing government overreach, too much of it, and they're getting sick of it. And I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. There are people that all these individual groups that are call themselves militia and whatnot. They're groups. It's their right. I have no problem with it. All I have to say about it is, if something starts, if you go ahead, you start something, it's going to have to be finished. You do it, you go all the way. Nobody wants to see that happen. But that's what would have to be done. You can't go halfway. You can't be nicey-nicey. Who has a stomach for this? Do our people truly have the stomach for it? Where there is a need, there is a need. Okay. That having been said, Mr. Blazeman, there should be another video number 2 that I put forth for you, which sort of connects with video number 1, I believe. If you've got it, can we get that up, please? I appreciate it. Yeah, biological man and women's sports. This is just a big no. It's a big no for me. I myself, I've never been one for sports. We can look at this anyway, but I even as a kid, I never really followed professional sports. When I was a little kid, I used to like to go play hockey, and that was it. I wasn't into football or baseball or basketball. I didn't collect game cards or whatever else. And it still doesn't bother me. But the thought of biological males calling themselves females and playing in women's sports, this is something that bothers me, and I'll go a little bit further. If you've got that video, Mr. Blazeman, would you please go ahead and roll it, please?
So I had a lot of people on the left come after me over the weekend because of a tweet I made about the female anatomy, that men cannot be women, because they can't. Changing your pronouns, playing dress up, cutting off your genitals does not make you a woman. Never did, never will. If trans women were real women, you wouldn't need the title trans, now would you? But somehow I'm a hateful Christian for stating the obvious. Standing up for God's design of male and female does not make me a hateful Christian just because you feel offended. It's not your job to reconstruct what you think you are and expect people to play along. You're upset, take it up with God. Or science, they both back it up. But I'd be doing a disservice to myself and to you by pretending that a lie is the truth for the sake of not offending anyone, instead of living apart for Christ in a world full of evil. The truth of the gospel will hurt people's feelings, but I have just as much of a right as anyone else to talk about my beliefs, and I will not be curbing it just because you might take offense. Truth hurts, but it does not equal hate.
Pretty much in a nutshell says everything that I've been trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. As I said before, if you want to go have a laparotomy or an addictomy, that's your business. But doesn't mean that I have to be forced into liking it. And I'm not going to. No matter how many times you point a finger, you can call me a racist, a hater, a this, a that, whatever else, as if it's going to make any difference in how I feel. So the idea of men calling themselves women and participating in women's sports, and there are some that are great accolades and receiving medals and so forth, and this and that, blah blah blah, yada yada, flippity flappity floop. No. No. I will not like it. I will never like it. Crispy says, "May it please 1,000 kills." Okay. Phone I need to buy costs a lot. We're living in the end times. I have heard that. And I'm not God, of course, and I'm not the Pope or any high up prelate. But I've done a study of the Bible things. I've worked in ministry. We're not anywhere near end times, my friend. We're seeing a little bit of unrest and unshakiness and so forth. but we're not into end of times, my friend. We are alive and we're living and we're struggling and so forth. There's an awful lot that has to happen long before this comes up. I'm going to continue with some more comments. We've got a break coming up. We're going to take a break for about 3.5 minutes or so, and I will see you back. Myself, Blazeman's in the background. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you. Go get some coffee, and I'll be right back. Take care. And here we are again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Welcome back. I want to enjoy while my swimming pool of coffee cup is almost runneth over. Thank God it didn't. Yes, indeed. And this is not Maxwell House. This is that Cafe Caribe that I drink. Good stuff, actually. Very, very nice. And I want to say, Dawn Marie, thank you so much for coming in. It's good to see you. Hello, dear. Thank you for coming. It's very, very nice to have you in here. Oh, my good. Okay, that having been said, Mr. Blazeman, you got a bill for all the help. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give him a round of applause for the work. This man has been working tirelessly. He's had the show before me. He's had this now, and I've thrown so much at him. Ladies and gentlemen, my engineer, the fellow who got me into this, my friend Blaze. I want to give everybody some thanks. Very glad to thank. Glad to be here. Thank you so much, Donna Marie. Okay, all of this having been said, Mr. Blaze, I do have video. Well, I said video number 4. I sent you 4 of them. I wanted to skip over the third one. It doesn't suit me to get into that situation right now. If we've got video number 4, if you have it ready, or if you could cue it up, I'd appreciate it. So yes, we were talking before about the situation with the males, genetically grown males, dressing as women and saying they're women, identifying as women, and going into women's sports, and it's just not right. It is not right that uh, that they do this. That they go and they compete. It's not fair. It's not right. We know that that there are differences, bodily differences, and so forth, and it's just not right. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Mr. Blazeman has video number 4. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to take a good look at this, pay attention, listen, and then we'll give a chat about this. Thank you very much.
Synagogue, AR-15. Nashville, AR-15. Huh, if only there was a pattern.
So the Nashville shooter actually used a Kel-Tec Sub 2000, which is chambered 9mm, which is not an AR-15 by any stretch of the imagination. And it has the same rate of fire as any Glock or 9mm pistol would have. Also, 5 of those shooters were gay, non-binary, or trans. So there is a pattern, but probably not the pattern I think you want us to find. Nearly 20 million Americans own an AR-15, and they wake up every morning and do not commit a mass shooting with that AR-15. The problem is with individuals who are making bad decisions as individuals. It has never been and will never be the guns.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So we've heard a number of things. Number one, first thing that I pull away from it, everybody keeps saying AR-15, AR-15. In so many of these mass shootings that they have, the weapon that they had was a long gun. It was not the AR-15. It may have looked similar to it, but it wasn't. This last one we had, the school shooting, school and church shooting, by the way, was a gun that was chambered in 9mm. The round itself is shorter, casing, but it's larger in diameter, more powder inside it, and a larger diameter bullet will do damage differently and flies differently and hits differently and so forth. And it still only fires when you squeeze the trigger. You have to squeeze it every time. It's not a fully automatic gun. There are handguns that are semi-automatic. There are long guns that are semi-automatic. There are rifles, and there are shotguns that are semi-automatic. Okay, now that we've got this going on, when Cain killed Abel, God didn't ban stones. Cain picked up Abel, Cain picked up a rock, smoked Abel in the head with a rock, killed him. God didn't ban stones. God didn't blame the stone. God held Cain accountable because Cain was the one that did the killing, not the rock. The rock itself couldn't say, "Oh, don't use me. Don't help me kill somebody." Just like a gun can't. Just like a gun can't. I have guns. They aren't killing people. Anyway, the next subject they were talking about. The next subject they were talking about was that the description of the people that were in a number of these mass shootings was not freely given out and correct. Was not freely given out and correct at all. Why? I don't know. But there are an awful lot of people who will tell you that it doesn't fit the narrative if you go ahead and tell the whole truth. So you and I, as reasonable people, when things like this happen, we can look at the television and listen to the radio and say, oh God, what terrible stuff. Yes. But in order for us, as reasonable people, to understand, to know, and make decisions, we must be told the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, the how, and the whatever else. And guess what? How far along are we in this school/church shooting now? And we're still not seeing the whatever else. Why is the government sitting on top of this manifesto? Why have they not released it when in other things they've pulled things out like that? Was especially remember the Boston bombers? They had their manifesto things and so forth, and they were making references to that. As soon as the things, almost as soon as the things had been found and had been ciphered and read through and whatnot, and they talked about postings that they had and text messages and whatnot. What is in this manifesto that they're covering so much? They're afraid of it. Dawn Marie has a message that says government is corrupt. You're not so far from wrong. Sooner or later, in every government, there is corruption. I remember when I was a young child, I was growing up in my hometown in Connecticut. You can go ahead and Google this, find this information. There was a civil service scandal that broke, that the investigations and the trials and so forth lasted 7 long years. It seemed like every morning we would wake up. My mother and father had a radio in the kitchen. They have it turned on, and when the news came on, the first words every single morning for almost 7 years during the weekday was Chief State's Attorney Austin J. McGuigan today said about New Britain, blah, blah, yada, yada, flippity, flappity, floop. New Britain, Connecticut. Google it, 1970s civil service corruption scandal. Let's see what happened. I saw friends, people I grew up with, children living around the corner, families. Their families ruined, their parents divorced, their houses lost, their fathers jailed. And with each single one that was discovered, our city crumbled more and more, and eventually wound up a shell, a vacated shithole, in plain English. It was terrible what corruption did to my hometown. It doesn't do any good anywhere, and we're looking at it. We have a message here from Mr. Susie. Says Boston Bomber story is on Netflix. Good for Netflix. I don't want to pay any more attention to these things. I'll tell you one thing. I've said this before to members of the Boston Police Department, by the way. This was shortly after all of this stuff had happened. I said it and I meant it. If it were my boat and I found that kid in my boat, calling the police is the last thing I would have done. So that has to be said. Anyway. Yeah, so much for the Boston bomber story. So yeah, Mr. Glazeman, I want to thank you very much for taking care of those videos for me. We've got all of that going on. And Alyssa has her grading picks for you. Alyssa, gardening picks. Okay, Alyssa has gardening pictures. You may remember last week I had mentioned things about gardening and how you're planning out gardens and so forth, and if you're what you're going to be growing. And Alyssa, who's one of our viewers, has some photographs. Alyssa, if you've got them, or Blaze, if you've got them, could you put some up? Do you have those? Ah, look at this. We've got some raised garden beds. Wow. So now you've got, looks like you've got it covered and so forth. You've got it, this over here gridded off. Oh, wow. Those are some nice looking, are those tomato plants? It looks like it. You got some other things. My wife has started doing something with hydroponics. Very, very nice. Yeah, we've got this gridded off box. We got another box over here. Is this compost? It looks like it might be compost pile or box or whatever else. I think this is going to do very, very well. I wish you well. I thank you very much for submitting these, and I look forward to seeing more of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to send them in. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for going in. Please send them in. You got some things. Blaze will get them up. Ah, yes, it is compost. Yeah, good. Very good. Wonderful thing, compost. Very, very good. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you very much. Keep sending in the pictures, ladies and gentlemen. We'd love to be able to display them here, talk about them. Maybe you can tell us what the things are, if you've got something unusual that you're growing. I know I have given up now on trying to grow corn. I just can't get it to do right. I just don't have the right place for it. So I'll use the spots that we have. And we do also have raised bed boxes. Ah, yes. Thank you so much for saying that. Very, very kind of you to remember. Yeah, we've had some raised bed boxes here. And we've grown, of course, the usual things, the staples, the tomatoes, although Mrs. B doesn't usually eat them. We had her son with us, and we were growing some peppers. He enjoys them. I enjoy them to a point, and then I have to deal with gastric disturbances. But that I've grown eggplants, but I'm the only one who eats it. So we've grown cucumbers and so forth, and I'm very proud of grapevines that I started a number of years ago, and I got them specifically so that when the time comes, if I'm no longer around, my missus would have something to remember me by. So we've got that. And every year when I grow the grapes, what I've been doing these past 7 or 8 years is I harvest the grapes and I turn them into homemade grape jelly. So I enjoy doing that. And maybe what we'll do, if you're good, maybe what we'll do is we'll have a little contest or something and see if we can send out some homemade grape jelly of mine to some folks out there. I enjoy doing that with those things. In the meantime, you said I used to have grapevines, love them, Dawn Marie. Why did you get rid of them? Please let us know. I'd love to find out. Or did you maybe just move to a place that doesn't have them? When you start them, growing them, I remember asking my grandfather. I asked him, no, I said, I'm told I was growing grapevines. I said, how long is it before when you start growing them, you start seeing grapes? He said, 4 years. And son of a gun, he was absolutely right. It was into the 4th year of growth that I actually saw some grapes, not that many, but they were there. And then after that, the next year, we had a bountiful plenty of grapes that were growing. That was fantastic. And it has been growing almost exponentially for a period. Now it's kind of, it seems it's still, harvest is growing, carrying forward, but it's sort of peaked off a little bit, or the growth, the amount of growth has peaked off a little bit. I do have to do a little more work to expand my grape arbor, and I've been putting that off for quite a while, but I think we're going to finish that up this year, maybe, and maybe that'll help us to increase the growth some more. But I have a growth of Allegheny grapes and Concord grapes, and I find that the combination of those two grapes makes a really nice jelly. And maybe what we can do is show you a little something of that later on another upcoming Mr. B show. So, that having been said, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about a number of situations here. We've talked about a number of things that are going on. Make wine. No, I don't have enough grapes for that. Unfortunately, it takes a lot more than what I get into to make wine. But thank you for the suggestion. You're not the only one that's suggested that. Besides, if I made wine, I'd drink all the profits. I certainly hope that we don't have any more of these school shootings taking place or large multi-death shootings or attacks and things like that. But time is time, and things keep happening. And unfortunately, people get into their heads that if they're going to do something, they're going to do it. And we've already seen it. Okay, if it's not with a gun, they've had people that have run people down in crowds with cars and pickup trucks and minivans, driven into buildings. They've had people who've done bombings and other sorts of things. So we have to be ever vigilant. And I'm going to put this out to you folks. What do you think it would take to stop these things? What do you think it would take in our country to? Well, we're not going to stop it all. Crazy people are going to do crazy things to profoundly retard these things from happening. Slow it down. It's not. We all know it's not a gun problem. It's not a gun problem. When crazy people get behind the wheel of a minivan and go and drive through a crowd on a crowded street and knock down 20 or 30 or 40 people and kill people and so forth. When crazy people go and hijack aircraft and fly them into buildings, killing thousands, committing all sorts of mayhem. Our society is in need of help. With that, I've got one last video, folks. I want you folks to have a look at. Mr. Blazeman, if you've got that in queue, could you bring it up for us?
And this comes as LGBTQ advocates are condemning statements made by State Representative Webster Barnaby in a committee meeting yesterday. He compared transgender people to, quote, demons and mutants. He made the comments after several people spoke against a bill that would prevent transgender people from using bathrooms that don't line up with their sex assigned at birth. Now, after apologizing, he then also went on to tweet he stood by his statements, but we just checked, and it now looks like he actually deleted his Twitter account. That House bill did pass out of committee, while the Senate version is still working its way through committees.
I'm going on the record here, and I'm going to tell you right here, right now, I find 100% absolutely aberrant any such thought process. I find it absolutely repugnant that someone in public service could dare to put forth such thoughts. And this is the United States. Yes, we are bound on freedom of speech and so forth, and freedom of associative ideas. Well, this is my free speech. buddy, you're an asshole. Okay, we've got one more coming, Mr. Blazeman.
16-year-old Ralph Yarl's attorney says targeted. Or was it a case of a man fearing for his safety, self-defense? The judicial system will effort answers as the 84-year-old gunman pleads not guilty. Andrew Lester entering that plea this afternoon in a Clay County courtroom as he made his first appearance. I'm John Holt.
I'm Lauren Halifax. We also know that Ralph Yarl is not only walking, he's talking now as well. His lawyer says his progress can only be described as a miracle. Fox 4's Malik Jackson was in the courtroom today. He joins us now live from Liberty. Malik, despite the attention, the process today was as routine as it gets?
Yeah, this Lauren, John, and Lauren only lasting about 20 minutes in total. Andrew Lester, who is charged with 2 felonies in this case, did not say much after he pled not guilty. But there is one thing clear. The Yarl family is not going to stop until they get justice. The courtroom so silent you could hear a pin drop as 84-year-old Andrew Lester made his first court appearance. This comes 6 days after the shooting of Ralph Yarl. Ralph attempting to pick up his siblings when he mistakenly went to the wrong house. Lester shooting the teen through the screen door, according to the state. The Yarl family hoping the process can move quickly, something they believe would go faster if Lester was behind bars.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have before us now the idea that of what happened with this situation. I don't know where to begin. I really don't know where to begin. I wasn't at this shop. I wasn't at this guy's house. I wasn't at this guy's yard. I wasn't there to see what happened. All we know is, again, what we're being told. But you know what? This doesn't look good. And you know, it keeps pointing to the fact that America is scared. America is frightened. Americans do not believe that they're being properly protected. And Americans are becoming paranoid. Well, there was a saying that was going around back in the 1980s. You see it on t-shirts, coffee cups. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Yes, we need to be vigilant, ever vigilant. Yes, we need to be responsible for our own protection. But ladies and gentlemen, we also need to act responsibly. If you're going to pick up a gun, you better know how to use it. And you better know when to use it. And you better know why to use it. And it seems to me there are an awful lot of people that are out there that just, they don't. They don't. Again, I don't know the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, the how, and the whatever else of this particular instance. I wasn't there. But from what we do know, what we have said, whatever, this entire thing stinks. And it does not look very good for that elderly gentleman. What do we do? Where do we go from here? How do we solve this issue? Well, first off and foremost, everybody's been saying we need more mental health. We need to revamp the way that mental health is addressed and looked at and seen and so forth and handled in the United States. And I, for one, absolutely agree with it. I, for one, absolutely agree with it. That having been said, we're coming up on our closing tonight. We're going to do something a little bit different. We've opened with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have the beautiful flag of American flag that's there. tonight, we also want to close with that, if you don't mind. And I'm going to ask Blazeman, do you still have handy? I certainly hope you've got our American flag. If you've got that, could you run up the colors? We'll be taking care of that, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll be saying good evening by also saying our. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Very, very much. I want to reach out and say thank you very much to our engineer, Blazeman, to all of the people who showed up, who've made comments, Mr. Souza, Dawn Marie, Alyssa May, everybody who's been here. And I want to thank you also for the photographs you sent in, for the gardening. Keep the gardening pictures coming. Spread the word. If you like this, share it, tell your friends, talk about it by all means. I welcome if you have some hints and so forth you want to say about it. I'd love to hear from you. Please, by all means, write in. If you've got a subject that you think I should be broaching, by all means, go ahead, send it in, write to us, and tell me. In the meantime, I'm Mr. B, Epping, New Hampshire. This has been Poli-Ticking with Mr. B. I thank you very much for coming in, and we'll see you again next week, 8 o'clock Wednesday night. Have a good evening, everyone.